And act on the various issues of business before the City Council. We are ever mindful that we are in the heart of the winter season, and we are thankful for what is being described to me as some very outstanding service presented to the citizens of Batavia over this past weekend by all of our departments, Public Works, Police, Fire. Everybody involved in it rose to the occasion and did a number of deeds that won the admiration and appreciation of many a thankful citizen. We are thankful that no one was badly injured from the city's perspective as from any of our employees, and we are thankful for all the blessings and support that was given to them and shown to them during this weather emergency. Tonight, as always, we want to remember those from our community who are serving on foreign soil in defense of the liberties of the United States of America. And we just ask that a special blessing be showered upon each and every one of them. Also tonight, we want to keep in our thoughts the members of the George Kramer family. George, as most of us know, served the city of Batavia for 24 years as the captain and juvenile officer of the Batavia Police Department before his election as Kane County Sheriff in 1978. And during that tenure, he helped probably thousands of Batavia young people through difficult times in counseling and support issues that he undertook in his juvenile actions. So we want to remember him with fondness, and we ask for prayers and understanding and blessings for his family. Tonight we just ask for guidance as we act on the various affairs of business before us, knowing that in our hearts and minds, each and every one of us is here to do the very best we can on behalf of Batavia and its future. Amen. Who hasn't had it? Alderman McFadden, would you go to the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Brown?
Here.
Clark? Here. Atack? Here. Stark? Here. Jansen?
Here.
Wolf?
Here.
Fisher?
Here.
O'Brien?
Here.
Callahan?
Here.
Homan?
Here.
Alderman Sam is absent. Cerrone?
Here.
McFadden?
Here.
Okay, so let the record reflect we have 12 members of the City Council, one absent and one vacancy. So we have the necessary quorum to conduct business. Moving then to item number 4, items to be removed, added, or changed on the agenda. Alderman Stark, do you have anything tonight?
The only thing I have, Your Honor, is that we remove the executive session.
Okay. So item number 18 will be stricken from the agenda. All right. Now you want to make a motion for the approval of the agenda as amended?
I do make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Stark, second by Alderman McFadden for the approval of the agenda as amended. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Stark?
Aye.
Jansen?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan?
Aye.
Cerrone?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Clark? Atack?
Aye.
Motion's approved, 12 yes, no no's, 1 absent. All right, moving then to the presentation of tonight's consent agenda. Alderman Stark, as Chairman of Administrative Services, would you present this, please?
I will, thank you. The consent agenda reads as follows, that we accept and place on file the Committee of the Whole minutes for December 9th, 2014, the Historic Preservation Commission minutes for January 12th, 2015, the following approvals: January 30th, 2015 payroll in the amount of $734,244.79. The accounts payable check register in the amount of $667,940.61. The City Council minutes for January 5th, 2015. Resolution 15-12-R authorizing purchase of 3 2015 Ford trucks from Bob Riddings Ford for $83,044. The approval of the purchase of police department vehicles. The Resolution 1509R, Article 36, surplus vehicle. Resolution 15-13-R, declaring fire engine surplus property and authorizing the sale. Resolution 15-14-R, tax abatement. Resolution 15-15-R, tax abatement. Resolution 15-11-R, authorizing execution of amendment number 1 to intergovernmental agreement with Kane County for Kirk Road access, and Resolution 1510-R authorizing execution of a master services agreement with James J. Bennis and Associates, Inc. I move that we accept the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Stark, second by Alderman Clark for the approval of the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Stark.
Aye.
Chanzit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Homan.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Clark. Atak.
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved, 12 yes, no nos, 1 absent. Okay, then moving to item number 6, we're going to declare a public hearing scheduled for 7:35 for the proposed exchange agreement with Dale and Melinda Rudy for property along Hoover Road and Carlisle. Alderman Brown, do you have this one?
Your Honor, I do, but if you don't mind, I'd like to ask Scott Boeing, the Community Development Director, if he would present this, as he worked very closely with the Rudys and the attorneys.
Good evening. This is for a land swap. This public hearing is for a land swap that is being proposed for some properties that the city owns, as well as Dale and Melinda Rudy. They live on Carlisle, right at the intersection of Carlisle and Hoover. The city owns a number of pieces of land that we acquired via the railroad right-of-way that we acquired at one point in time, as well as some land that we acquired via tax sale. The Rudys also own a number of pieces they also acquired from the railroad, and some various other acquisitions they had over the last several years. In looking at the various pieces of property the city has owned in this area, we looked at the boundaries of what we have versus what they have, and it seemed that we had a circumstance here that we could make a nice even swap between our properties and their properties, which allows us to square off our various parcels, dedicate some of the land for future right-of-way for Hoover, and to kind of square off what we have versus what they have. For example, they have a driveway that is actually on city property. They have essentially an easement to use it for that purpose, but the conveyance that we're proposing this evening would allow for that driveway to actually be on their property as opposed to city property. So we feel that the land swap would be an exchange that would be agreeable to both sides. We have published a public notice for that for this evening. Pursuant to statutes, we have to have a public hearing on the land swap. We have published the notice, and we're willing to hear any testimony this evening. And once the public hearing is closed, also later on in the agenda is an ordinance that would allow for us to execute the agreement that would allow us to complete that swap.
Any questions of the Community Development Director? I mean, I think we've fairly well hashed this out at the Joint Committee of the Whole, so everybody in the council has heard the whole rendition in complete detail, so I don't remember any particular, was anything raised?
No, there wasn't any issues that we asked staff to even go back and do any further exploration on. It's just the process that we have to go through here tonight to have the public hearing, and for a point of clarity, when we do get to the ordinance, we do have to have a 3/4 majority vote on this in order for passage.
Correct. Okay, this is a public hearing. Does anybody in the audience tonight wish to address the subject of the proposed exchange agreement between Dale and Melinda Rudy and the City of Batavia for the Carlisle Road, Hoover Drive piece? Okay,
I move we close the public hearing.
Moved by Brown.
Second.
Second by Atek, that we close the public hearing on the proposed land exchange for the parcel on Hoover and Carlisle. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Clark. Atak.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Chanzit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Homan.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
All right, motion's approved, 12 yes, no nos, 1 absent. Okay, moving to item number 7, which are matters from the public for items not on the agenda. And I know Mr. Essling is here tonight to do his annual address to the City Council on a subject near and dear to his heart. So, Joe?
Yes, it is. I got big shoes to fill. Chuck Beckman did this for years. My address is 1930 Bilter Road in Aurora, Illinois, 60502. On behalf of the Brotherhood Banquet Committee, I invite every one of the men here today to the Brotherhood Banquet. It's at 2300 Main Street at Holy Cross in Donovan Hall. Starts at 6:30 on the 19th of February. That's a Thursday night. I know this banquet is usually on a Tuesday night. It's been moved to a Thursday night this year. I have tickets if you need them. Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully you get a good crowd again.
Hopefully.
Appreciate that. Okay. Stacy, do you want to address us, please?
My name is Stacy Peterson. I'm the Adult Services Manager at the Batavia Public Library, and I'm here tonight to talk about One Book, One Batavia. One Book, One Batavia is a community-wide reading program now in its 13th year. The book selected this year is Manhunt, The 12-Year Chase for Lincoln's Killer by James L. Swanson. And here in Batavia, we have links to the Lincolns. So this book is the book we've chosen. This is also the 150th anniversary year of Abraham Lincoln's assassination, which took place on the night of April 14th and 15th, 1865. The author, James Swanson, provides a captivating moment-to-moment account of the assassination and the pursuit of Booth and his conspirators. We encourage Batavians to read this remarkable book. Batavia Public Library has developed a series of programs and events related to the book, and this series is co-sponsored by the Friends of the Batavia Public Library. Information is available online at onebookonebatavia.org. The grand finale is a presentation by the author, James Swanson, who will be visiting Batavia Wednesday, March 11th at 7 p.m. He'll be giving a presentation at the Batavia Fine Arts Center, thanks to our partnership with Batavia High School. The event is free of charge, and we just ask that people contact the library to register. Thank you for your interest in One Book, One Batavia, and we hope to see you at the library soon. Thank you.
Any questions of Stacy? I just want to make a comment. I had the opportunity this afternoon to talk to George Sheets, who's the director of the library, and Doug Sullivan, who's the president. And in our course of our conversation today, they related to me that the Batavia Library, which has become kind of the anchor tenant in downtown Batavia as far as bringing people into our downtown on a daily basis, one of the issues they are now faced with is they have so many popular events such as this one, that this event and others that they have now probably exceed, the attendance exceeds their ability to deal with the size of the crowd they get. And so the facilities, when that library was built, I remember, whoa, look at this big room, they'll never fill it. Well, now they had an event there last week about selling on eBay, and they overflowed that one. And so they're now having to move these to the Fine Arts Center, where we have 890 seats, because the facilities at the library can't handle the crowds they're getting. So I think that's a nice problem to have. I'm not saying that in any criticism. I'm just wanting to point out to the City Council the virtues of how much positive community interaction is occurring with the Batavia Public Library these days, and how so many citizens who have resonated toward what's going on there. And I have had the opportunity to talk to a number of people who told me originally when that big library was proposed, they didn't think it was a good idea, and they voted in the referendum against it, but now they find themselves there every day, and they're glad that it got approved. So I just cite that as an example of, you know, a battle that we fought past, and there's now a lot of people that have kind of changed their view about the value and the virtues of what is going on at the Batavia Public Library, because you've certainly taken it far beyond reading to technological support and movies and DVDs and all kinds of interesting things. And certainly programs like this, I think, speak to what I'm talking about. So thank you for all you're doing, Stacy.
Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else? Holly? Oh, you're sorry, you're next. Okay, we'll move then to item number 8, which is, I guess, the chamber report.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here to, thank you for your time this evening. Wanted to congratulate the 2014 Citizen of the Year, Mr. Tom Von Lunen, and the 5 Batavia businesses that were awarded Oli Awards at our Inspire event that was just held this past Friday: Iron Mountain, Nutegrity, Gaetanos, Barco Products, and Pep Boys. Thank you all for attending the event. It was a big success, and we had a great time. So, look forward to the event again at the end of January next year. We are excited to be partnering with the Batavia Public School District on the Entrepreneurial Incubator Project for fall of 2015. We will be matching business professionals with budding entrepreneurs. It's a pilot program that began in another high school district, and we've decided to implement it here in Batavia. So we're really looking forward to that. We'll be meeting with some of our top and leading business owners here in Batavia to get their perspective on what is the right type of person and personality and skill set that is needed to be a success in business. Speaking of great events that pack the place at the library, on March 25th, the Batavia Chamber will be hosting a school board candidate forum. All 8 of the candidates for the 3 seats have committed to participating in the forum. It will be at 6 p.m. at the Batavia Public Library. Lastly, I'd like to just give a thanks to the City of Batavia, all of the community members, businesses, city council members, city staff, the mayor, on all of the support that I have received over the past year. It's hard to believe it has been officially 1 year that I was appointed as the executive director of the Batavia Chamber, and I just want to say thank you for all of your support. I'm standing here now on 2 legs, mostly because of all of you. I could definitely not have done it alone, so thank you all for your support.
Thank you. Any questions of Holly tonight? Alderman Brown.
Holly, could you give us the day and the date and the time of the debate again?
Yes, it is March 25th at 6 p.m. at the Batavia Public Library.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm excited. We've got a couple of very interesting presentations tonight. First one is going to be on a proposed Guinness Book of World Records breaking attempt of a scooter parade. And our old friend Randy Salmonian is back to give us the new version of how we're going to put Batavia on the map breaking it. So Randy, if you'd come forward and give us the big news.
Thanks, Mayor Schelke, City Council, and extended family. Thanks for having me. I promised that I would keep this to 20 minutes. Don't bite, I'm just kidding. Just a couple minutes. I just wanted to give you an update since I was last here. Some good news, we finally secured a date for the attempted world record, Mr. Callahan. April 25th, it's a Saturday. We had a range of about 3 or 4 dates at the end of April, the early part of May. A lot of things conflicted with school and et cetera, so we landed on the date of April 25th. We're shooting for a 10 a.m. world record attempt starting here at the Peg Bond Center. So that's kind of the big picture. We're excited about it. We're right in the throes of doing all the proper applications. We're looking for sponsors. The charities that we're going to work for are Chip in Batavia and United Way Batavia, 2 awesome organizations that are very worthy, and we're excited to raise a lot of money for them. And if this goes well, as Mayor Schelke and I spoke about a year ago, we'll try to break a new world record every year in Batavia and do something really fun and exciting. So that's kind of the groundwork. Everything's moving along at a good clip. Lots and lots to do, but I'm excited, and I've had great support from police, fire, Forest Preserve, Park District, everyone. You've been great. So questions?
Why don't you tell us the route, the proposed route of this?
The proposed route. The scooter parade, each scooter has to travel 2 miles. So the proposed route, it worked out actually quite perfectly as we were working with the police and fire. Our goal was to not have to close any streets down, so this doesn't turn into a real melee, and came up with a great idea. Deputy Chief Glenn came up with an excellent idea, because we were originally thinking of a staging area where the scooter parade starts and then ends downtown. So we were thinking maybe we'll stage it at the high school, it'll end downtown, or we'll start at Fermilab, it'll end downtown. And he said, why don't we start and end downtown, so we don't have to transport people back and forth? And I thought that was just absolutely genius. And me being in the event business, I didn't even think of that, so kudos to the police department. Great idea. So our hope is that we're going to start here at the Peg Bond Center, right at the Red Caboose. If you travel north along the bike path to just past Fabian, where the boat ramp turnaround is, that's just over a mile. So it works out perfectly that we would start at the Red Caboose, we would travel north on the bike trail, head back, and end at the Red Caboose as well, too, and then we have the Peg Bond Center for an after party. So that's the proposed route. We suspect it'll take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes for a scooter to travel. Expecting 1,000 people. The world record is 489. It was in New Zealand in 2013. And we're hoping to get 1,000 people, families, kids, parents, grandparents. As long as you can push a non-motorized scooter, you're welcome to join the parade. We suspect if it goes as planned, if there's 1,000 people, figure 5 feet per a scooter and then a couple feet. So that's about 5,000 feet. So the line itself will be actually about a mile long. So that's kind of the big picture. And we're thinking of some fun things like, aerial photos, to sell afterwards to help raise money, T-shirts, world record certificates, whatever we can do to help and chip in Batavia and United Way Batavia would be fantastic. So we're all ears for ideas. The website will be up and running here in another week or two. We got that secured. All's moving forward well. All's moving forward very, very well. Any other questions?
Is your plan to go up the West Side Bike Trail and come back down, or are you coming?
Same trail. No, same trail. From what I understand, you can't loop around anymore because that bridge is down in Geneva, where the Japanese garden is. And it worked out perfectly that we need 2 miles, and that's just 1 mile on this one side, so we'll literally be using the same path. Can't close the bike path down for the day, but the fact that that bridge is closed will slow a lot of through traffic through with cyclists and runners because they're not coming through. They have to start there basically at the Japanese garden. So that's the general plan.
All right, any other questions?
Any restrictions on scooters? Can we make our own, a bigger one?
I have to dig into that a little bit, Alan, because there are restrictions. I mean, it's non-motorized, 2-wheel with a deck and a handle. If your scooter is 8 feet long, have at it. I think that'll be fine, as long as it's non-motorized and, and you play nice. Yeah, as we move forward, I mean, one of the things we're thinking about, too, is we may have to limit it with the age of kids, like maybe 5 and under can't be in it, because if we have accidents or we have problems with kids slowing down, potty break, whatever, I need a sippy cup. So we'll figure out something for the young ones to do, but pretty much from 5 and older, I think, could work out pretty well.
So if you're a family with 3 children, you can buy 5 scooters, and all 5 of those would count toward the world record.
Exactly. Every scooter counts. Every scooter counts. Yep. Doesn't matter the age, the color, the size, the texture. You're in if you have a scooter.
And these people can be, what, 3 or 4 years of age and up?
Well, we're hoping, yeah, the real young ones will probably keep out, but I think 4 or 5 and upward would be a pretty safe guidelines.
I'm looking around the council here, and I can think of several that are quite good candidates for this particular activity.
Indeed, indeed. I would think it's something, everything that I do, I try to keep the kids and families in mind, and,
at the head of the room.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Leading the pack.
I don't think I have a scooter anymore.
We'll get you a scooter, Jeff. As a matter of fact, I think Alan's going to start building yours tomorrow.
The mayor's chariot.
The chariot, yeah. So that's the latest and greatest. Good stuff. Lots of kids are getting excited. I know once we turn it over to the schools and announce it, full bore, it's going to be really exciting. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Just pray for good weather.
Are you worried about limiting it? Like if all of a sudden 5,000 people show up?
Well, interesting point, Alan. Very astute. We are considering, and I think we're going to do it, I think we're going to charge a $5 admission. They have to sign up online, and for a couple reasons. A, obviously it's going to raise money for Chip-In and United Way, which is wonderful. But B, and as important as that, for police, fire, et cetera, we'll have a count. So coming up to it, we'll have a good idea of how many people, so we're not going to be surprised with 5,000 if we're at 1,200 2 weeks before, But that's a great point. That's something we talked about pretty heavily, and that's why let's charge people. That way they're committing to it. And $5, I think, is a pretty fair amount. If you have 4 or 5 in the family, you don't have to spend, $100 to get on board. It's only going to cost you $20 or $25.
I think once it hits the schools and they find out that they could be part of a world record,
right.
I think you're going to see a lot of input.
Right, yeah. Again, we'll manage that as we get closer, and I think that count will really keep us tuned into what we need to prepare for. No big surprises, as in the World Hug and 15,000 people showing up. little bit of a different mix there, as Dave chuckles. Yeah, so things are moving forward pretty well. I'm happy with progress. Still a lot to do, and I appreciate all the help and support you guys have given us. It's been wonderful.
All right, well, thank you for coming down and keep us posted.
Indeed, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
All right. Okay, our second presentation is Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and Peter, you were down to see me if you want to get up and introduce yourselves to us. So.
Hello, I'm Peter Lowe. I live at 656 Sylvan Place here in Batavia, and I am a volunteer member of the Resource Council for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I'm joined tonight with Eric Dahm, who's a program manager for Big Brothers and Big Sisters and on their staff and very involved in doing a very good job with their program. We're involved in Southern Kane and Kendall counties, so we include Batavia. And we're very active in a lot of the communities. I noticed when I got on the council that we don't have a very big presence here in Batavia. So with your, we're pleased to have the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight. It's just to make a little more community awareness and to let you know how the community might be able to help us in our programs. Many of you know Big Brothers and Big Sisters. You heard of it. It's a national organization, and you know it's a mentoring program to help kids who may not have a mother or may not have a father and just don't have that extra parental support in their family. And Big Brothers and Big Sisters matches somebody from the community, or we have a school-based program and they match somebody from the schools to be a mentor, kind of a role model for the kids and give them direction. And it really helps a lot of these kids. We've seen in the organization some real results that come just from having somebody they can look to for a companion or a little bit of guidance, or just somebody to be there when they need it, or just to be that role model that an older kid can, or an older adult can support for the child. So I sense that we need some help in Batavia. We're not strong here, and so we're looking for a lot of different ways that Batavia as well as surrounding communities can help us. And I'll let Eric speak more about the program because he's involved in it on a day-to-day basis. He really knows the details of the program.
Thank you, Peter, and good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Dahm. I'm with Big Brothers Big Sisters. We've been around in downtown Aurora. We serve all of Southern Kane and Kendall County, as he said, and have been there since 1980. So we work very hard to try and make sure that the kids of the communities we serve are supported by having that positive mentoring relationship. We have two programs, as he said. Our community-based program is adult volunteers. They meet with their little brother or little sister out in the community to do things that they both enjoy. So whether that's spending time at an amazing library and looking at resources in the community there, or whether it's going to a park or local restaurant, trying to do something that will open up that child to have new experiences. So we do have a few community-based matches in the Batavia area, but we are also looking to establish and expand our school-based program into Batavia schools for next year. We are exploring starting a pilot program where we would have volunteers from Batavia High School going to one of 3 different elementary schools in the area to be mentors and role models for those kids there. So much like the community-based program, the goal is to establish that relationship. Let that friendship be a core positive influence for the kids, and that is kind of the base. And they can work on other goals from there, but once they establish that relationship, that's what's enabling the children to feel better about themselves, better about their approach with their school, with their peers. It can be very beneficial. So in the school-based program, it's great because it's good for the high school volunteers. They are getting a chance to serve their community, earn service hours. Since we're a national organization, we're great for a college resume because no matter where you want to apply, someone has heard of Big Brothers Big Sisters and the work that you do. So it's great for the high school students, but obviously it's wonderful for the elementary school kids as well. So we're excited to be expanding into Batavia next year with that as well. So those are our 2 programs. I really value the work that I get to do at Big Brothers Big Sisters. It's fun to see the positive experiences we get to have with the kids. So some other ways that someone could help our program besides just in general volunteering is we try and look for outings or events to engage people. Obviously, telling our matches they can be part of some sort of crazy world record scooter parade would be a pretty awesome thing to do. So that's the kind of thing that we like to engage the kids in our program with. We want to be able to tell all the bigs and the littles in our program, hey, here's an awesome thing going on in Batavia. Here's something going on in your area that is fun and free, or $5, and it's going to be a positive experience for you guys. So we look for events, we look for outings like that, we look for businesses that want to partner with Big Brothers Big Sisters to give kids more opportunities, more chances to try new things. We also have our Bowl for Kids' Sake fundraiser coming up at the end of February and beginning of March. There's no fees for any of the kids or the volunteers in our program, so we need the support of our community to be a financially sound organization. To that end, our biggest fundraiser is Bowl for Kids' Sake. It is a very standard fundraiser, but to celebrate afterwards, we have a bowling event. And every year there's a different theme for this bowling event. This year is superheroes. So if anyone is a big fan of superhero movies or maybe has a child who is or something, it's going to be a good fit for you guys because a lot of the bigs in our program are already heroes to the kids as well. So it's a lot of fun. When people are raising money, we have this bowling party with t-shirts and pizza and beer and everything that you need to have a good time. So that is coming up. We are going to be at Funway in Batavia soon at the end of this month. So we'd love to see some of the Batavia community come out to support Big Brothers Big Sisters and support the program. So that is the gist of who we are and what we do and what we're looking to do in this community. Would you like to say anything on behalf of the school district? Or?
Sure. I'm Amy Nelson. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Batavia Schools, and we're really excited about this partnership. It's been something that we've been thinking about for some time, and so we're excited to implement this, and we're in the process of bringing it to our administration, seeing what principals want to jump on board, and kind of getting things rolling next year. So it'll be very exciting.
Thank you, Amy.
The one thing I guess I would ask is, we're on TV here and the press is sitting here. Is there a phone number or an address or a website you could give us that you could maybe say out loud so that we could get it on the air and let people hear where they could maybe contact you from?
Absolutely. Our website is www.auroraBBBS.org. BBBS for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Our phone number is 630-844-9090. Both are great ways to learn a little bit more about the program, what it's like to get involved as a volunteer or as just a community supporter. If you go to that website, you'll find more information about Bowl for Kids' Sake, how to register, make a team with some friends or family who might also like to bowl or like to support Big Brothers Big Sisters. Some people will say, I'm not much of a bowler. We try and tell people it's not about the bowling. You can stink, we'll put up the gutters for you if need be, but it's about supporting the kids and this program in the community. So again, the phone number is 844-9090 and the website is auroraBBBS.org. Are there any other questions that Peter and I can answer about our program and what we're trying to do?
Any other questions?
I'd just like to add, I do have forms for signing up here tonight, or if anybody wants them, they can get in touch with me. My name's in the phone book, Peter Lowe, or as Eric said, you have a website, you can go to her phone number. We'll be happy to get you signed up and help us support the kids. There is a need in Batavia for the kids. We've seen that. There are a lot of kids in Batavia who could use this program, and there are also a lot of people in Batavia who could help support us by either being a big or by coming out to some of our fundraising events. So we thank you for that.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you coming down and keep up the good work. And again, if we can help you in any way, let us know, and we'll certainly try to help you publicize this thing in some ways or form. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving then to item number 11 on our agenda, which is the reappointment of Doris Schur and Doug Sullivan to the Batavia Historic Preservation Commission. Both of them have served terms on that body, and their term is up, and I need to reappoint them, and they've both agreed to me that they would be willing to serve another term. So I'd ask for a motion of confirmation for Doris Schur and Doug Sullivan to the Batavia Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Stark. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Transit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Homan.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Motion is approved, 12 yes, no nos, 1 absent. Thank you very much for that reappointment. Moving then to item 12, which is ordinance 15-02, an ordinance amending ordinance 03-02, authorizing the city administrator and city budget officer to approve certain budget amendments. Alderman Stark, do you have this one?
I do, Your Honor. This came out of the COW meeting on 1/27/15. It was a very old ordinance that we just updated to include, and I don't have it up on my computer right now, it increased the amount that could be approved by certain staff members. Thanks, Lucy. When it was passed in 2002, the dollar limitations to carry over were $25,000 for equipment or contract items less than $75,000. And what it means is if we order something now and it doesn't get completed until into the next year, that budget item can carry over to the next year. And so that was the basic gist of what this ordinance amendment is. So I would move that we approve ordinance 1502, an ordinance amending ordinance 0302, authorizing the city administrator and city budget officers to approve certain budget amendments.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Stark, second by Alderman
Atack.
Atack for the approval of ordinance 15-02. Any discussion? Alderman Callahan?
Just a couple points. My misgivings about this are that the approval of budget and budget amendments are a council function. And this isn't to micromanage staff on it, but it's actually, we're doing our fiduciary responsibility by seeing through and approving the budget amendments as they carry over. And council back in 2003 also agreed with that, and they put dollar limitations on that. My concern is that we're going from limitations to no limitations anymore. So if there was a need, I believe that there would be a balance that we could still find a current limitation that would still provide oversight, yet give a little bit of leeway in those times for what we're trying to accomplish. It's just, for me, it is about proper oversight and exercising what we need to be doing by following through. I understand what it's for. I understand that there are efficiencies gained. But for me, these type of things where we're reassigning our responsibility, it just makes me a little uneasy. And it should be done cautiously. Thank you.
Alderman Wolf?
I understand that, Marty, but what I see this as is just trying to simplifying something we've already approved in a budget, we've already voted on, and we've already made the approval for it, and it has to be transferred. We're still going to get a list of the transfers when they happen. We're still going to know about it. We could still stop something if we don't agree with that, but it's something that we've already approved in a prior budget that's just being carried forward to another one, and we'd be getting the information when it happens. So I'm not worried about financial, disclosures or duties or anything else on that. I believe that all we're doing is trying to avoid having to add to the ever-growing list of amendments and things that we have to approve every time when we've already approved it. And it's just moving from one budget cycle to the next.
And I understand that, and I agree with that. I just didn't feel there's been enough justification at this point to make that determination. So
go back 10 years and look at the amount of ordinances we had that year and compare it to what we had last year. That's enough for me to say that we need to streamline something, especially for things we've already approved.
Alderman O'Brien?
We're not changing, I agree with Alan, we're not changing the dollar amount. I mean, it's just to make it more efficient is all. We've already approved it in the, say, the 2014 budget. If there's a carryover to 2015, we've approved the dollars. It's just making it efficient to save us a step. I mean, I don't see where there'd be any big issue with that. We've done our due diligence. We've checked whatever costs were, I guess. We approved the budget item. It should be a done deal. It's just we were unable to acquire whatever goods or services we've budgeted for in one year that it carried to the next is all. So I would agree with Alan. I don't think it's a deal.
Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of ordinance 15-02. Clerk, please call the roll.
Stark?
Aye.
Chanzit?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
No.
Homan?
Aye.
Saron?
No.
McFadden?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Clark? Atack?
Aye.
So that was approved, 10 yes, 2 no, and 1 absent. Okay, moving to item number 13, which is ordinance 15-03, authorizing approval of an exchange agreement with Dale and Melinda Rudy and for property along Hoover Road and Carlisle Road. Alderman Brown, do you have this?
Thank you, Your Honor. Scott did a great job of explaining what it's all about. We've all gone through the conversation at the committee level. We've all read the memos. I see no need for any further conversation on my part. I move for approval of ordinance 15-03.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman McFadden for the approval of ordinance 1503. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown?
Aye.
Clark? Atack?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Chanzit?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Ordinance 15-03 is approved, 12 yes, no nos, 1 absent. All right, moving to 14, the administrator's report. Mr. McGrath, please.
Thanks, Mayor. I wanted to add my thanks to all our employees who spent the weekend out plowing, and a lot of them missed the Super Bowl and missed their Super Bowl parties, etc. I know a lot of them were out all last night as well. I know that Bill Kellum has sent you the schedules from time to time that they work up before these snow events, and the one for this event was as complicated as all of them are. So we did have some conversation on Sunday about whether we were going to, or just how bad the storm/blizzard was going to be, and whether we might have a problem with opening up today. And it's always hard to judge because we know that, Batavia streets are going to be taken care of very well. We have a lot of employees who live in other towns, and that's our major concern. But I think everybody got it under control, and so everything was fine today. As a matter, just as a coincidence, my wife and I are hosting a couple of artists associated with Water Street Studios this week. They came from, they're from New Hampshire. It's a teacher at Dartmouth and another artist from Indiana. They're working on a project there. They both loved the town. They were really impressed with how the snow was taken care of, and so just it's nice to hear out-of-town people observe how well the services occur. I do know that if you heard Rahm Emanuel talk over the weekend, he pointed out that we had more snow on Saturday and Sunday than we had during the entire month of January. So I know that this resulted in, some cul-de-sacs and some side streets maybe not being cleared as quickly as some people would like, especially with the Super Bowl and people wanting to get around. But I think, frankly, now that you see the volumes of snow around this town piled up, you understand really what a big project it really is to keep up with it. And I've been driving around today, and I think everything is really in good shape. We're still working on the Houston Street plans. We just received a plan late this afternoon. Gary will get it out to you, and it's on the agenda for tomorrow night, and we'll just see where that conversation goes. In a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about the Westtown TIF study. Chris Ason's done a nice job, so we'll be ready to talk with you about that. Either next week or possibly the week after, we do want to talk about some public process, and this is something that came out of the Kirk Road, the recent land development land development issue, and that is our what we call the heart attack test, and another facet of the zoning ordinance that requires developers to have meetings with neighborhoods before they start their process. We'd like to have a discussion with you about both of those, how you feel they work in our process and where they may not work. And finally, it was very nice. I think it shows the success of the City Council's plans for the downtown, where two of the Oli Award winners on Friday night were both downtown businesses. That is Gaetano's and Barco Products for what they did at the old Louise White School. You know, as we've said for years, the trick here is to trying to get an investment of private dollars into the downtown, and both of these are examples of private dollars coming into town. And we know for a fact that now a lot of people from out of town are coming in to invest private dollars in meals at Gaetano's, and certainly we all know the success story of Barco with both the music school and his company as well. So that's good news, and that's all I have.
Any questions of the administrator this evening? Alderman Callahan.
Along those lines, you brought up Houston Street and Barco. Who do we use for the trash can receptacles and the benches? And would we not want to consider Barco?
We do. We would want to consider them. It depends what the type and style is of. I think a lot of their it depends on the type and style. But we have used Barco for some things in the past.
Yeah, would it be something that we could see if they could manufacture?
They're not a manufacturer. They're a sourcer, but there's no question that there's no reason why we couldn't take what we think our concepts are and ask them to see how close they can fill them and then make a decision.
Yeah, I think it would just be a home run to, they refurbish that without any city dollars or even asking us for it. So I think it would be a plus to have them.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Committee reports, Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple meetings to announce. Tomorrow night, the Committee of the Whole meeting will start at 7:30. A couple items for the community development, and that is basically just the streetscape of Houston Street. There's a small parcel of land there that the Batavia Park District has got that they need to deed over to the city because of the alignment of the proposed project. Plan Commission is scheduled to meet Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. and Historic Preservation is scheduled to meet Monday, February 9th at 5:30 p.m. That's all I have.
Okay. Public Utilities, Alderman Clark.
Tomorrow night's meeting, there's one item that's going to be on the consent agenda. It's regarding tree trimming. And I thought, I don't see it on this, but I thought there was a fiber optic presentation on tomorrow's agenda. And is there? Yeah, so I don't see it on the calendar, but I believe that's on the website for tomorrow night's agenda, so that will be interesting and kind of a lesson for people who aren't aware of what we did prior. So that's all I have for public utilities. Thanks.
Government Services, Alderman Stark.
Tomorrow night, we will be discussing the 2015 prevailing wage. And also, there will be a presentation of the Kirk Road property sale proceeds. And then on the 24th, that caught my eye, on February 24th, it seems like a long time from now, we will be talking about the public meeting brochure, which is something a lot of people have requested, and how do we run our public meetings and what they can expect when they come. So it should be a good meeting to attend if you want any input as a member of the community into the brochure.
Okay. City Services, Alderman Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. Quite a few things tomorrow night on the agenda for City Services. Deer Path Road right-of-way and budget amendment, Deer Path Road local agency amendment, master services agreement with Gewalt Hamilton Engineering Professional Services, and also stormwater easement at Redant Road. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Anybody on the council have any other business they wish to bring up? Alderman Stark.
On, and it's one of these pages. Hold on one second. I switched to read one thing and then can't find the other. Okay. On February 7th at the Eastside Community Center, there is a volunteer fair that's being held by the Batavia Chamber of Commerce and the Batavia United Way and the Batavia Park District. It's from 9 to 12 a.m. And many different organizations from the community who are always looking for volunteers will have tables there. You'll be able to talk to representatives. I bring this up because Access, which is both the toy drive and the fireworks, we both need volunteers. Both groups need volunteers. And so anybody who'd like to come out and get more involved with the fireworks or the toy drive, we'd love to see you out there. Again, it's at the Eastside Community Center on the 7th of February, which is a Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
And Access is going to have a table there set up, and I'm talking to the toy people, too, about coming over and joining you, so we'll hopefully have some opportunities to try to recruit some folks to come in and help us. Thank you. You took part of my...
I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine. I appreciate you jumping in. Anybody else in the council? I've got a couple things I'd like to talk about. First of all, I just want to pay a couple words of tribute to George Kramer. I mentioned him in the opening prayer. Those of you who've lived in this town 30 years will remember him as a member of the Batavia Police Department and the vital role that he worked. And I would just say that he was a big family man. He had 8 children of his own, but he had a big extended family out there. And last week, on the day he died, one of the kids that I think he was pretty much involved with went on Facebook and wrote a simple sentence that said, "Great father to an entire family," or great father to an entire community. And I think that spoke miles about what George was all about, because there were a lot of kids in this town in the 50s and the 60s who probably, as we heard from Big Brothers Big Sisters, didn't have a mother or father or much of a family life or any type of parenting. And I know of a number of instances where George Kramer kind of filled the ranks of the father for a lot of kids growing up in this town, and probably a lot of people ended up being much better citizens and productive family people and knowing how to raise children themselves because of his stewardship and his counseling and his guidance that he gave to a lot of people. And it was back in the days when you had the idea of a juvenile officer, although law enforcement hadn't really defined the idea back in the early 1950s. So George kind of made it up as he went along and kind of wrote his own book about how to do it. And really, he had a tremendous impact at the end of the day on a whole bunch of folks. And I think if you were at the funeral home last Friday night when they had his wake, the line was going out the door for most of the night. And it was a lot of those folks showing up, many with tears in their eyes, in appreciation to everything he did. So he's been gone from the city now for a long time. He left the city in 1978 when he got elected Kane County Sheriff. And obviously that was his retirement from the Batavia Police Department after 24 years. But he really did leave his mark with us, and is one who I think truly made a difference for the better in our community. And I just wanted to publicly take a minute and recognize his good efforts, because he really was somebody who put his best efforts forward to kind of change some bad directions into good directions in this town, and I think he should be remembered for that. That being said, I got a couple of things to report to you. I've had several people come in and ask for meetings with me, and one of them that called last week was Walgreens Drugstore. And they wanted to come in, and a couple reasons. Number one, there is a brand new district manager who's just taken office that's here to kind of represent the Walgreens in the south suburbs area, including Batavia. And she brought with her the new manager of the gentleman who's going to be the new manager of the Batavia store. And he's a gentleman who's currently already a manager in the Geneva store. And the way Walgreens has kind of reorganized things, they're going to kind of do managers in kind of a bulk thing. And so the gentleman that's in Geneva is going to have 2 stores in Geneva and 2 in Batavia when the new stores, well, he has 2 in Batavia now, but he's going to be the manager for both stores. And so the second reason they came, besides introducing themselves, was to ask for a copy or application for the city package liquor license, because that's always been an understanding with us, that when they increase the size of the store, they will meet the square footage requirement to allow them to have packaged liquor in Batavia and the downtown. So they're going to be filing an application with me and requesting the ability to sell liquor. I told them that we don't currently allow liquor to be sold through drive-through windows, and that I was hoping they would be in agreement that they would not agree to sell the liquor out the window of the store, and they said absolutely they wouldn't have any problem with that. So it would be an over-the-counter sale only with their liquor. So I felt very good about that spirit of cooperation. But they are going to be filing their application within the next few days, they tell me. And I told them that it is generally the case. What we will then do is invite them to come to a coming JCAL meeting, so they'll come in and sit down for a few minutes, and then I'm going to invite them to get up and tell all of you about themselves, and then you can ask them any other questions you may have about what they're wanting to do. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to want to sell out of both their Batavia stores, and they're going to file separate applications for both. I don't know, the second store out on Randall, I think they were trying to clear the air as to whether or not there was any lease prohibitions on them out there, because there's already people in that center that sell alcohol, and there may be some, they weren't sure, there may be some lease prohibitions in that lease on Randall that would restrict their ability to sell liquor out there. But i.e. it's Trader Joe's already has a liquor license, and in some of those leases out there, I know that there is certain things that once, if you get in there, you get a covenant in your lease that says you're the only one that gets to do this, and that may be in the case. So they're going to get all that cleared up and have it to talk to us about when they get here. But they are, in the words of the district manager, they are overly anxious to get this new store in Batavia going and get it up and get into production. And they've got, as I think you all knew, they're planning to have a physician's assistant's office in there where they'll have somebody that'll be able to diagnose you if you got, the flu or cold, and prescribe some drugs to you, so you'll be able to get your prescription, go out and buy it right on premise after you have your little diagnosis. So they've got some different things that they're going to plan to do in there. And they also want to greatly expand their food offerings and whatever. So I'm optimistic that this is going to be a nice thing for downtown Batavia to have. And as I say, they're here raring to go. So I shared that news with Batavia Enterprises last week and said, we need to get this thing over with and done. I think they're hopefully working toward it too. Next thing is, I had another visit. And today I was visited by the director of the Batavia Library and the president of the Batavia Library Board. And they came in and they're planning, they asked for ability if they could come to our JCAL meeting on February 17th, and that would be their plan that they will be coming. And it sounds they're having a library board meeting that night, starting at, I think they meet at 6:30. And they said they thought that they would be done with their meeting around 7:30, 7:45 time frame, at which time they would move kind of en masse down to the Batavia meeting down here. And I think we've already had them in here once already in a joint. Didn't we meet with the library board? I think we did. Or didn't we?
No.
We had the school board in.
Just
had
school
the school
board.
Well, the library board's coming. They want to get here quick. And the reason they want to get here quick is that they're out on the street for bids, and they've got some significant reconstruction activity that they want to do on the Batavia Library site, including they've had some words of counsel from some members of this body about their need to meet their agreed upon requirements for landscaping as it applies to the library site. And they've got all that figured out, exactly what they need to do and how they're going to do it, and they want to come in and show us all that and meet their full obligations to the city of Batavia as it applies to landscaping on the library site. And then they also want to come in, and they've got it in their direction that they're rebidding. They're going to rebuild the stairway that's over here at the corner of First and Water Street. And they're going to, as I understand it, they're widening the stairway out to make it and open up. They have a pretty good park there right next to Water Street that's got a big question mark in it. If you've ever looked at it from the aerial out the back window of the library, you can clearly see this large question mark that's made in the form of a seat that's held up by, holders that look like library books. And anyway, they're going to do some enhancements to that park, and they're also going to be rebuilding the front columns on the library because they were originally put in and they're made out of a wood that isn't holding the paint very well, and they're cracked and they look somewhat unsightly. So they're going to come in and they want to present all that to you. And then I think they're going to ask that we give some consideration to some type of a TIF support for some of what they are doing on some of their outside work as a partnership with us in downtown Batavia. So they tell me this is the first phase of what will be maybe a multi-year program with other things, but they really are going to do some stuff to greatly enhance their outside of their operation. So on the 17th of February, they're coming to our meeting to talk to you about that. And we've already got a few things on that agenda, but I think we certainly want to squeeze them in. The next thing I wanted to tell you about is on February 24th, Metro West is going to have a legislative breakfast down at the Gaslight Manor on Church Road in Aurora. And Metro West historically has these legislative breakfasts in which they invite all the members of the Illinois General Assembly that represent Kane, DeKalb, and Kendall counties to this breakfast, and then Metro West collectively as this set of governments gets to shoot at them with questions or requests of legislative support in this general session of the General Assembly. Well, this year, because of a lot of conflicts with schedules, they figured out that a breakfast would be the best thing they could probably do to get the attendance. And I'd just like to ask as many of you who can, if you can fit it into your calendar, it's a morning breakfast starting at 7:30, should be over with a little after 9. If you can find it in your schedule to go, I'd like to have be able to say we've got a nice group from the Batavia City Council there. Because there are some pretty significant issues that are out there before the Illinois General Assembly in this session, including such things as the future of the local government distributing fund, which the city of Batavia is literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. That is the city's share of the state income tax that is decided on a per capita basis. And there's been some discussions that have already adjusted it downward as to what the city's share of this is, and there is some significant concern that the General Assembly may do something to even reduce that further, or some people even think it's been taken away from us. But we certainly want to talk to them about that. There's been some other legislations that are out there, and what we will be doing is that Metro West is preparing a whole list of concerns that the municipalities have, and Bill McGrath and I represent the city on this. It's the mayors and managers and village presidents from all the cities, and we are in the process of kind of gearing up for this meeting. And I think we've previously always had meetings that I would describe as we invite the legislators in and we play nice in the sandbox with them. In other words, we don't get heavy duty. And I don't think we want to get heavy duty this year, but I think there's going to be a pretty stern message hopefully delivered to them that, you know, some of the stuff that has been done and some of the things that are being considered could have serious, specifically financial, negative ramifications on every municipality in the state of Illinois if some of this stuff goes forward. And some of it isn't necessarily taking money away from us. It revolves around proposed special interest legislation that could cost us as cities a lot more money just to keep ourselves in business in the state of Illinois. So there's a lot of moving parts to this thing, but we will be trying to do this. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is I'm trying to put together the idea that maybe we will do a city council retreat, and I'm thinking that I'd like to do this maybe after the April 7th election, maybe quickly thereafter, within a couple of weeks after the election. And I've talked to several of you, and everybody seems to think that an all-day Saturday thing could be problematic for a number of people. So one of the things I'm going to suggest maybe would be that maybe we take some other, maybe a weeknight thing, and we'd start maybe like 6 and go till 9, and maybe we'd do it in one night or 2 nights, but we would do a retreat. I think it's probably best that we try to do the retreat when we get the new people seated on the city council, or at least we know who the new people are going to be, so that we can, if we do it in April, we can let the old and the new be here together. I mean, I think it could be a good exercise to go through, but I don't have a date yet. I'm looking at bringing in a facilitator from the outside that will be somebody that has professional local government experience that can lead us in discussions and let this be kind of a free, open thing that any of you who may want to do it. And I would envision that we will just be us, the city council, and not the staff. Does everybody have any problems with that, or, okay?
Sounds good.
Some of you have mentioned to me you thought we should do that, so I'm trying to facilitate this in a way that I think it would be the productive. And when I say I'm bringing somebody in from the outside, I'm looking to bring somebody in that we don't have. Doesn't know a lot about Batavia but knows a lot about. I have a couple people in mind that are have government in their background, but they don't know anybody here per se. Don't have any preconceived notions or opinions, and just to give us kind of an open, fresh view on how we go about it. I think it's important as we get to start to have the discussion about selecting the next city administrator and the hiring of that person, that we, have some ideas of what collectively we'd like to see, and trying to advertise and solicit for that type of person and go forth. And that, I would tell you, I think should be one of the primary conversation points in the discussion that we would have. And I would suggest that we would do the night thing would be like, maybe we'll have something catered in to eat, and we'll do it starting around 6 and go till 9 or something, and see how far we get. But if we get the right person in here, I think it could help move this along and help us get, thinking in the right perspective. So, all right, I think that's all I wanted to share with you tonight, but that's all pretty important stuff. So, Alderman Brown?
Your Honor, I might suggest that if the library is going to be coming in on the February 17th meeting, there's already 6 or 7 items on the agenda for that night. Some look like they could be a little bit lengthy. So I might suggest we start our meeting at 6:30, consider starting it at 6:30, so that when the school board wraps up theirs, we're kind of hopefully wrapping up ours. I mean, the library. So we're kind of wrapping up ours, and then we can, we don't want to be down here at 10 o'clock at night with the library board, and so.
What's everybody's opinion about that?
Do it.
17. Okay.
I mean, quite honestly, the reason it's on the 17th, the library's already gone to bid to this thing, and they're getting to go out on the street with it. I think they'd like to get city's concurrence or understanding of what we're doing, and you've had some discussions with them. They mentioned that to me today about the landscaping issues, and they want to make sure that they're on the right page with where they're going with it, and you understand where they're going.
I look forward to the meeting.
And they also want to, this stairway thing, I think they're interested in, and then they've heard that one of the things we may be thinking about if we continue streetscapes is Water Street, and how that may interrelate to some of the things they're going to do with this stairway. And would we be someday putting a sidewalk on the west side of Water Street between Wilson and First Street and things like that?
Yeah, I think that whole stairway opening up idea all came from the very beginning of the conversation about streetscape, when the streetscape committee was meeting with Altamano, and that was something that Altamano recognized, even though they weren't charged with anything in that area. They were looking at the town in general. They recognized that park up there as being something that's way underutilized, and it's just covered with, you can't see it from the street. So that was kind of their suggestion back at that time, that there'd be some widening out of that stairway area there so the community could recognize that area.
I definitely glean from the conversation, they want to be working partners with the city and not go in some different direction. So I really, at the end of our meeting today, I thanked them for their effort to try to reach out with us and have a conversation before they're up there doing something, and the rest of us are saying, why did you do this, or who told you should do it this way, or whatever, that we're going to at least understand where everybody's going with this thing. But they definitely, I think, like the idea of opening that park up to more public utilization and visibility. And, you know, that part of the conversation today was what we can do to, you know, kind of, you know, when we closed off Water Street and moved the farmer's market, which I think was probably a good idea because I think it is helping the farmer's market to grow and it's probably in a better place, but that kind of took away from that part of town, you know, some traffic that they were potentially getting. And so I think, you know, some closings of Water Street for other activities in the downtown for whatever we may want to do. I'm beginning to wonder if the Houston Street program, when we start the construction this year, if we couldn't stage some of the activities that we're talking about moving someplace else, put them over on Water Street between Wilson and First Street, because I think that could be another possible idea that could emerge here. So that's all I wanted to kind of clue you in that that's what's going on. We've got seemingly people lining up in the door here, and it's a good thing. I am excited about the synergies I see happening in Batavia today with the number of people that seem to be wanting to come in here and ask questions and talk about building stuff. And I'm not so sure that we aren't going to start to see some significant new housing activity. I wasn't anticipating we were, but boy, there's been a lot of questions in here recently from people that seemingly are looking at, you know, every vacant piece of ground in and around us that hasn't got something built on it. Somebody's in here asking questions, and I think the infamous piece down at Wind Energy in Kirk is probably going to be back in our face here pretty quick. Probably is more housing than anything else, but that one I think is alive and well, and I've talked to living, breathing folks in the last few days that are in here telling me they're thinking they're going to do something on their property. So we got some activities building up here. So, all right. That's the end of my talk for the night. No other business. Alderman Brown, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Clerk, take a voice vote.
All those in favor?